whether we can see things, whether it is also good. Let me just correct something here really quickly. Yeah, I guess this is a tiny bit better. Still not sure in terms of the colors, if I like it that way or if I dislike it. But today we're gonna analyze some design. We're gonna have a look at them. We're gonna see through them. We're gonna talk about art. This is what we're gonna do today. I'm actually having a fairly bit of time left, so maybe, just maybe, we can do it a bit longer than usually, than normally, than we are used to doing it. And everything that you're seeing here is also going to be on YouTube. It's also going to be available as a podcast on Spotify and every other platform you might be on. So maybe check it out, especially also the YouTube video. This is probably going to be a tiny bit edited. Probably going to leave out all the things that may or may not be that interesting. But still, let me have a very quick look at Twitch to see that everything is actually fine, everything is working smoothly, because I don't want anything to be broken. And that is actually really fine. Really, really fine. I'm still not sure whether I like the colors or not. So I might be playing around before I indeed start everything. Is this better? I don't know, it kind of is, but on the other hand, no, it really isn't. This is shit. This is tremendous shit. This, I don't know, didn't change anything. So what if I use this one? Is this good? I feel like a bit blown out and stuff. I could also just make it black and white, just for the sake of just not giving a shit. Could also do that. But I could also do that. You know what? I'm just gonna keep it like this. It's a bit dramatic, it's a bit off, but I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it in that way, and we're gonna deal with it later, some other day. I don't really know. But let me actually change that. Design talk number 2. Can I do this? No, of course not. This? No. That? Well, let's do it like this. We're gonna analyze design, and we're also gonna be a bit philosophical about things while doing so, so that we can learn something. We both can learn something, and we both can get something out of it. We both can realize things, work through things, because in very recent times I do have indeed noticed and recognized that design can be a pretty good part of life. Good in the sense of useful for restructuring things, making decisions, and making sure that you're actually happy and that you're feeling good quite in the end, because a lot of things can actually apply to life. Contrast, rhythm, balance, all of these things are a part of design, but simultaneously they should also be part of a great life, a life that we like to live, a life that we enjoy and whatnot. And this is kind of the new thing that I've discovered for myself, and also the new thing that I want to share here, the new thing that I want to get out and get to know people. No, I also want to get to know people, but I do want people to get to know that. Yeah, talking, great. Still, today I think we are gonna talk about rhythm. Rhythm being something that, is one of those principles, one of those main principles that we have in design. And I could actually also show you something that I guess I was talking about yesterday, which was like the basic principles of design, the basic principle things that should be used, should be applied, or maybe on the other hand should also just be broken. Those rules, sometimes it does make sense to break those rules. And I do want to point out, sometimes, not always, fucking sometimes. Because very often, there is a reason for having those rules. Those rules just work. Those rules just make sure that your design is not going to suck entirely. But still, let me show you. No. Where am I? There we are. I'm still having a thread here. A little tiny one. It's already good like that, I guess. But I still hate... Oh. I just see that probably... Is this the same, actually? Yes, it is. But anyway, it sucks. And I really dislike the colors. What if I use this one? Should I use this one? But then I have to get down saturation even a bit more. And maybe do it like this. I don't know, this feels kind of good. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. We are gonna do that. So when you type in, you're having a new window here, with amazingly great news that we all want to see, that we all want to hear. They're not absolutely bullshit, no. Especially when it comes... It is, by the way, always very important. Always one of the main things you should always check when you're seeing news. What is the source? Because of course there we have some ads, pretty amazing. But on the other hand, we're also having sources that nobody should be trusting and nobody should even give a shit about because they are bad, Design principles. There we go. And if you go into pictures, you're just gonna see all those things that I have been referring to yesterday. But, well, not this one, but yeah, thanks a lot. For example, there we have rhythm and we have balance and unity and all of those other great things. As well as proximity, and then there we have repetition and contrast and balance and space and negative space and all of these really, really great things. Well, so if we once again go to TM-research, which is basically a database of old but really cool and good designs. If we go into here, and I'm just gonna randomly pick something. Let's just take this one, that one. We're gonna copy it and we'll copy it into Photoshop, which is way too big at the time. And we're gonna create a new document and gonna choose 1080 by 1350, which is the resolution that I'm normally using for Instagram. Whenever I'm posting something on Insta, I'm using this because, you're just having a pretty great aspect ratio, which is a bit taller, which is also more elegant because very slim and tall things, they look more elegant than a square, a square being, well, pretty functional on one side, but on the other hand, it is also dense. You can't push it away. Of course, if you're having something very tall but slim, you can just push it and it's gonna fall over. This is not gonna be the case for a square. It's very stable. It's like concrete. Anyway, and I do, by the way, think that design and philosophy, they are pretty close to each other. Because sometimes I feel it is indeed strange how if you present work and design work and you try to give it a reason, which, by the way, you should also be doing in a process and not only when you're just finished. But do you see that? No, you don't. But this you can see. There we go. I do guess and hope that this is fine. Yeah, of course. It is a bit let's keep it like this, because it doesn't really matter if we're having some. It's actually also very interesting that. Why can't I move? Okay, there we go. That my CPU usage isn't actually that bad, because I've tweaked settings a little bit, so just that I do not get any problems again. Because I also don't want to show great things and things that are useful. Let's actually make that. There we go. Nope. There we go. We have a bit of a bigger window here. So what did I say we are going to talk about? We are going to talk about rhythm. Having a certain rhythm. And most often you can see a pretty good rhythm, maybe even a pretty bad rhythm when you're having a look at very small texts like this. When you're having a look at a newspaper, do not look for something like that. Newspapers are made in very short amount of time, which means that quantity over quality. The quality of the text typographically is just going to be bad. Of course, it should still be readable. This is the most important thing when it comes to a newspaper, which may or may not be the case in here. Of course, at least at my point of view, readability should always to some degree be a goal. Because, of course, when I make a product, but it is not usable, it could be the greatest product, whatever, still nobody's going to use it. It's kind of the exact same thing with design and when it comes to typography. There should be a bit of readability. Sometimes it is actually pretty great if it is not that readable, because it just makes it a bit more interesting, But on the other hand, if you cannot understand any word and cannot make sense out of it, there is no structure, it is just pure chaos, which could also be your concept, of course. But most often posters do have a reason, posters do have kind of a quote-unquote goal, then it really makes sense to make sure that it is somewhat readable. And so make sure that text is well written, that it is big enough, that it is clear enough, not too much is in front of it, so that you can somehow read it. Maybe you just have the same text multiple times in your piece, and so on and so forth. But there we can see a bit of a rhythm. Long, short, 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 long, short. You can make a rhythm out of it. It is, as interesting as it is, there is a little bit of a science behind. In German it is called Fließtext. I think it is body text in English, I'm not too sure. But by the way, I would actually prefer it not to be. You can't. Can you? Or do I have to click in it? Oh yeah, there we go. What did just happen? Okay, nothing for you. What I prefer there, at least at my point of view. I know this is just my point of view, and this is kind of the problem with design. A lot of things are just really subjective. But I would prefer it not to be as close to the border as it is there. I would assume, I don't know, is it the rhythm? Is it the theme of it? Well, we could argue it kind of is, because this big 5, first of all, it is cut off on the very top. And second of all, it is also just bordering the edge there as well, and on every other side. So this might just be how this piece works. Anyway, you can have a rhythm in there, and still it is some sort of a science what looks good and what doesn't. If it doesn't look good to you, even if you're just using a certain rhythm, don't use that rhythm. Maybe you have to use a different rhythm, maybe you just have to do something differently, maybe it is about the color of the text, and so on and so forth. I mean, there's many reasons why something can be good on one hand, but also pretty bad on the other hand as well, or problem solving, of course. Anyway, so you can build in rhythms when it comes to relatively small ones, but also when it comes to really big things, having a block there, same block there, and with the same distance, and then again and again and again, and whatnot. Let me, by the way, just see whether we can see black. Yeah, using black on black may not be the smartest idea. I could also use other lines. I could just also use these lines to see whether we have a rhythm there. Do we? Let's have it. Somehow it's not gonna be real, I guess. Somewhat of the same distance, where we could also talk about rhythm. Of course, this probably is a grid, and this artist, I don't know him, unfortunately, probably was using a grid for that, just because these types of posters, I always call them Bauhaus posters, Bauhaus, yeah. Bauhaus, German word, translated means building house, kind of, some sort of, not really, but kind of, and most often they have used grids. As I've been talking about it, I think in the last episode as well, old posters, yes, they are great. They work, they look cool and whatnot, but, big but. By the way, maybe would have also cool if they align, but let's have a look. Is this, okay, they do, because it is the very bottom of this text here, of this body text here. Still, at least at my point of view, once again, my point of view, I'm a designer, I am one of many, I do know, but I think that these types of design, they are great. But should you be replicating them? No, not really, because they are old and they are outdated. Of course, there might be some sort of a renaissance, which means that, these things get modern again. And I do have a very slight feeling that this was the case in very recent times as well. But still, we can do something new. We can do something more modern. We can do something better than that. Of course, use it as a baseline, use it as inspiration, use it to see how grids can work. I think this is one of the best examples that you can even get. But not copying them, using it as inspiration, great. Copying it and also copying the style, no, not really. People that know design know that it is just old and it has been done for many, many years. And at least at my point of view, it is a bit more interesting to create new stuff and do new stuff. But yeah, as I said, my opinion, what I think, it is what it is. Anyway, when it comes to rhythm in life, which is kind of the second section here, the second thing that I want to talk about, rhythm in life. Sometimes, as it is the same thing in design as well, and I could actually go there and show some pictures in the background while I'm talking there and scroll through, maybe even Instagram. I don't know if I'm allowed to do so, but I guess it should be fine, doesn't it? And show you some really cool, where is it? There it is. Some pretty great accounts that I, sometimes discover very recently, but sometimes also just, have seen before and whatnot and so on and so forth. So one of them is indeed Baugasm. And as you can notice and as you can see, Bauhaus, Baugasm, there's a whole entire thing around that, which is cool, I think, at least at my point of view. I can understand it. I do understand why people enjoy it. It is a cool style. It is a great style. But this, as you can see, is way, 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 way more modernized. With also, it is a bit of a shitty situation here. That is cool, actually. I didn't know about that. Let's do it like this. There you can see animated, modern, different colors, more colors, but still somewhat the same style, basically based on grids, as far as I can understand this, as far as I can see indeed. Well, rhythm in life and rhythm in design. Sometimes it is very important to have the exact same thing, doing the exact same thing, every day in your life and also in design. Sometimes it works, sometimes it is a great idea, but from time to time it is also important to break this pattern, because also in design, if you're having the same rhythm over and over and over again, it gets boring, and it is becoming boring because we're seeing the exact same thing over and over and over again. There is no contrast, there is no differentiation, everything is the same. And when everything is the same, then it becomes dull and uninteresting, as it is the exact same thing in your life. If you're doing the exact same things every single day, all the time, you're gonna get bored and you're gonna really dislike things. And changing it up. You can change things up, as you can do it in design, and when you're making a poster, when you're making a book design, when you're making a cover, whatever it may be. Maybe change up this pattern, this rhythm, change it up. And if it doesn't look any better, then just, reverse it again, as it is in life as well. If you see that, okay, it is not really working for me, it's not that amazing, okay, I have done things in a different way, I have done something entirely different, whatever it may be, but it just really didn't work for me. I really didn't like it. Well then, reverse it, do something different, maybe trying out something different. So on one hand, it is great to have rhythm, to just know what we're expecting. At least, this is something that I actually really like. I like to know what is gonna come. I like to see what I'm gonna encounter. And I would argue that a lot of people feel like this. But on the other hand, sometimes it is also really great to see something new and recognize something new. This is, probably was one of the reasons why I would actually not replicate those old posters. Yeah, they look cool, yeah, they're great and they work and whatnot, but doing something different, doing something new, we have seen it already. And also, why would you replicate it? And there we go. I mean, it is somewhat the same style as as funny as it is, being, what's it called? Suggested, yeah, of course, by this other account, by Instagram. They have noticed, well, it is somewhat a similar style. We can see a grid there, things work out. It does kind of look like the other style. As I said, very grid based, even if sometimes, I don't know. But it is a cool style. As I said, it is a cool style. But use it as inspiration, use it to create new things in other mediums as well. Might not be a poster, but maybe it is an app. Should work there as well. And then it becomes a bit more interesting, when the context changes, when the environment changes. Of course, when I'm playing soccer, every single time on the same soccer field, well, it is going to be boring. It's going to become boring. It's not going to be great forever. But sometimes I'm just taking another route. Also when cycling, I'm taking another route. Okay, I've seen it already, which is kind of the thrill. I do also like just seeing the same thing, knowing what I'm just gonna see, just knowing my expectations. Okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna see this, it is gonna be great. Even if I like sports, even if I like cycling. But sometimes I feel like, well, the unknown, not really knowing what is gonna come. Which, by the way, when it comes to, what is it called? Is it eroticism? Something like that. You know what I mean. If you're wearing, for example, I think that I think this is something that I cannot show now. If I'm just also searching it up on Instagram, but this is very interesting. Sometimes things are better when we don't see everything. If you're seeing some very beautiful women or very beautiful woman or man, but they cover their certain body areas with fabric, sometimes fabric that it is a little bit translucent, you don't see everything. And this is the interesting part about it. You do not see everything, but there is a certain barrier, a certain imagination that you have to know what is going on there. And this is fucking beautiful. And it is the exact same thing with life as well. You don't really know what to expect. You somewhat have a framework. Okay, I'm gonna cycle. This is how cycling works. This is what I'm gonna do, and so on and so forth. It makes sense, period. But also in design, am I gonna show everything? Are you gonna be able to read everything, at least on first glance? Or am I gonna cover it a little bit? Am I gonna play with contrast? Am I gonna just make it interesting by also kind of reversing the thing that I was just talking about before, about readability? Maybe it shouldn't be readable. Does it make it interesting then? Actually, very big part. Also very big part of movies. I'm not going to show it, but I'm going to give you a clue. I'm going to give you a clue about what is going to happen there and what is happening here, also in marketing, having some sort of video that is pixelated so that you do not clearly see what is going on, but you can somehow imagine what is happening. And this makes things quite interesting, to be honest. And I do also like his account, by the way. These patterns, though, and also the color scheme, something we've seen already, or at least I have seen it already. But of course, things that work, they just get replicated, People do things that work and like to do things that work, because when things do not work, doesn't feel good for our ego, Well, coming back to, I always want to talk about balance, and I always also think about contrast, but we were talking about, oh God, how can this happen? How does this happen? We were talking about rhythm, of course. Let me actually quite see whether Twitch is working. And I'm actually really stoked about the fact that everything works out really fine with the stream, with the new settings that I should have made way before. Period. Way before. And it's also way more fun if things just work out and things aren't as bad as they are. Period. Anyway. So apparently everything works. Everything is fine. I'm happy about that. Happy to see that. Maybe let's actually also have a look at architecture. Arc Daily. As you may or may not know, I am an architectural student. First semester, so I do not know anything, but I have always quite liked architecture. I've always quite enjoyed it more than art. Art in the sense of classical art, paintings and whatnot. Graphic design for me is something different, just because I'm doing it and I know a bit about it, which just makes it a bit more interesting for me as a person. But architecture, I think, is something that a lot of people enjoy and a lot of people also like to see and like to maybe also analyze. And I would argue also in architecture, which is art, rhythm plays a really big role, Of course, we're having a rhythm of windows, certain rows, they all are kind of stacked, there is a pattern behind it, there is a rhythm behind it, but sometimes it is then also very interesting to see some things like this. This is a different structure. It's not always the same. It's not always the same rhythm. It's not always the same thing. There's a bit of contrast. There's a bit of breaking the rhythm. There we can see, looks beautiful. Also, of course, having this pattern, having this rhythm makes this arithmetic element way more interesting. If everything would be all over the place, it would probably just be chaotic and chaos, which isn't nice as well, And also in life, you do not want to have chaos as well. At least not always. But sometimes I feel like, also today, after working out, which I normally also and always do in the morning, I have had a look at my room. And I thought, well, you know what? It is not really tidied up. Everything is pretty chaotic. Everything just is a bit also like, I should tidy it up, period. But then I thought, well, maybe I just need that, This is my balance. This is my arithmetic thing, okay? I do like chaos. Maybe I actually should do it in the complete opposite. I'm always living in chaos. I've always been dealing with chaos. I've never actually always or ever been a very structured person. This is not who I am. It depends on what I'm working on. It depends on what it is all about, but I'm never ever really entirely clean and structured and whatnot. just something that I do not do, period, for whatever reason. I don't understand. But I thought, well, I'm just going to leave it like this. I'm going to leave myself in this chaos. In the very recent past, I've also noticed and seen that I feel way better when it is not the case. When I do have, once again, this arithmetic element of having structure. All of a sudden, living in a place that is super duper clean and tidied up. I really enjoy that, because I also know that everything else is pretty chaotic. But maybe, on the other hand, if I'm not tidying up my room, maybe I'm going to transfer this thought into something else. Something maybe, probably, who knows, that is a bit more important. For example, making sure that my workplace is tidied up, or my computer is tidied up, so that I find all the files that I want to find and see all the things that I want to see. If this is the case, no. At least at this point of time, it is not. But still, just thinking about, or actually the realization that design really can be translated into life without acting like, okay, design is just the greatest thing in life and whatnot. But I don't know, there might be a reason why arts, especially fine arts, have been around for a tremendous long period of time. Also music, there's also rhythm, by the way. Sometimes we just need this rhythm, makes sense, but breaking it makes it interesting as well. It having 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 2 3 4. That is just another element. Of course, it shouldn't be too much. There should still be the structure. Maybe this is just an argument. It's just a thought of mine. Maybe this is the important thing, that you notice the structure, but you also notice breaking the structure. If you do not notice any of these, it's going to be chaos, because it's going to be all over the place. Nothing is going to work, and it just then in the end also doesn't work as a piece, as an art piece, as music, as whatever it may be. But noticing it, okay, I know the structure. I know what is going to happen. But in the same moment, at the same time, I also know that I do not really know what is going to happen, because maybe there is going to be another element that is going to break this rhythm. The drop, whatever it may be, this really big thing, once again, having the balance of, okay, something really big happens, but there should also, and has to be, something small. Because if there's nothing really small, there's also not going to be anything big. We need this contrast. We need this balance, this disbalance, this rhythm and a rhythm, so that we actually notice that something is rhythmic or not. Which I guess is and has already been said, but I think it is also worth pointing it out pretty often. We tend to forget things relatively fast, at least at my point of view. And also I tend to forget things really, really fast, unfortunately. But yeah, there we can see the elements. They're the same, but they have a different rotation. They have different lengths. They are somewhat similar, but still not completely similar. So we do see a structure, we do see a system, but then we also have this element, which is having a different form, a similar form, but different. I don't know. For me, it just makes sense to... And by the way, by talking about these things, I do realize really a lot, which is almost scary to some degree. But yeah, having this always the same space in between, because we also need that structure. Of course, when you're building something, you cannot just do anything. Just not going to work. This house, this product, this thing just also has to be stable, just needs to be standing there. It shouldn't fall over and whatnot and break, however, or whatever. However, of course, we're having these elements that are somewhat the same, they just move on, whatnot. It's you can expect something. But then all of a sudden, there in the front, you have nothing. And also there, apparently, I don't know if it is glass up there, looks a bit transparent, might also just be the shadow and there is actually nothing. There we have one, there is nothing. There we have another one. Maybe this other one, it's not as big as the one above there, but still. Anyway, think that I'm gonna end the episode there. I really hope that I'm able to share some things that were of value to you. Please check out the YouTube videos. Please check out the podcast. If you want to listen to it, listen to it. If you want to watch it, watch it. If you don't want to do it, then it is what it is. Gonna see you next time. Bye-bye.